Max here again. This video we're going to touch on how to financially plan for the whole entire year and forecast the next 12 months. Does not have to be the start of the year, but we're going to forecast for the next 12 months. Not because we're going to be super uptight, but because being proactive, as you're going to find out, really gives you that stress relief when it comes to personal finance. Reacting, what you're probably doing right now, dealing with things as they come up, that's what creates financial stress. This video is going to teach you how to be proactive and how we can have stress relief and sleep easy when it comes to finance. The first thing I'm going to encourage is doing what's called expense tracking. For the next 30 days, begin tracking every single expense, from your largest expense, which is your rent or mortgage, all the way down to the cup of coffee before you go to work. And the reason you're going to do that is because from then we're going to start making changes and look at what's going on to really see exactly how we can start making changes. But if we don't do that and we don't track, it's almost like if you were to run a marathon and you're at the starting line and you put a blindfold on. Now, you would be able to run the marathon a little bit, but eventually you're going to fall off course and you're going to be in the bushes more or less. So we want to come to a place where we see what's going on so then we can continue running that marathon of personal finance. After tracking and after having those 30 days, you're then going to add up all your fixed monthly expenses. So that would be your cell phone, the gym, your rent or mortgage, all those ones that don't change throughout month to month. You're going to add those up. That's the first thing you're going to do. After that, you're going to begin going through the variable expenses, the ones that change month to month. That would be going out to eat, that would be going out in general for different events, all these things that change throughout month to month. How much you pay for fuel on your vehicle each month. Those change marginally, so we want to add those variable expenses up as well. Now, you've probably done those two before, the variable and the fixed costs. The next thing I'm going to encourage is something that most people don't do, and that's forecasting throughout the year. These are called periodic expenses. So your car registration, the holidays, birthdays, vacations, those things that don't hit every month, but when they come, they take you almost by surprise. I talk to people every day who aren't prepared for their car registration to come due. They now have a $400 car registration due, and they haven't prepared throughout the course of the year, and then eventually they come to a point where they have to resort to credit cards. Most of consumer debt, from what I've seen and where I sit as a financial coach, I see from these irregular and periodic expenses that creep up on you. Whether that be your kids going to back to school, you gotta buy them clothes and books, that whole bit, or you gotta pay tuition for college. These are all these periodic or irregular expenses that creep up on you, but we really gotta start preparing for those. And how we're going to do that is this. Let's say the car registration throughout the course of the year is $240. We're going to take that $240 and divide it by 12, how many months there are in the year. That equals $20. We're going to begin funneling that $20 into a savings account each month, so when the car registration comes due, we're already prepared for it. We transfer from savings and checking, and we're ready for it. We don't have to go to those credit cards or try to figure out in some other manner. We're already prepared for it. And that's the proactive piece of finance that not many people do, and that's where the big strides and big aha, yes, I finally made it moments are there. It's planning for this periodic expenses throughout the course of the year. But even if we planned for every periodic expense, there's still things that happen in life. I'm sure you've realized at this point in your life that you can't plan for everything. For that reason, we're going to start putting in money into an emergency fund, a slush fund, a rainy day fund. Those are all different words for the same thing, but long story short, this fund will be for those things that happen. Say you need car maintenance that was above and beyond what you expected, or you need to buy clothing because your clothing is worn out and you just simply didn't plan for that. We're going to put, a good rule of thumb is between 7 and 10% of your net income into savings each month for those unexpected or emergency expenses. And those are variety of things, but we want to also be proactive when it comes to that as well. Most people I speak with on a daily basis come from a very reactive financial place. That would be, as the bills come in, you pay them. As things break, you deal with them, fix them. And that is what creates immense financial stress. And that's where consumer debt and credit cards usually comes from what I've seen. Now, what we want to get into a place is being proactive. And that's, first off, just doing the spending tracker, figuring out the monthly variable and fixed costs, and lastly, doing those periodic expenses. We can't plan for everything, but if you have all 4 of those planned out throughout the course of the year and start funneling money into the irregular expense account and the emergency expense account, you're going to be prepared for a large majority of everything you're going to do. And being proactive when it comes to finance gives you a sense of power and control over your money, as opposed to the money having to the very penny going towards something. We're going to have that surplus. That surplus is going to be used to be through these proactive tendencies. And when you have that sense of control and power over your money, you then feel empowered. And when I see people feel empowered about money, they actually feel stress relief when we talk about money, simply because we have it taken care of, not because we're on top of everything that's going to happen, but we're prepared for everything we know is going to happen, and seemingly prepared with the emergency fund for the things we know may happen. So just having that proactive mindset going forward is going to speak mounds into stress relief, and it's really going to help you sleep better at night. Personal finance is what it's called, and you have to take some personal responsibility when it comes to it. And when I see people taking personal responsibility for their finances, even that means you can't prepare for every single emergency expense throughout the course of the year. You're going to begin to feel responsible for it, and it's kind of like your little plant. You're going to water each month and see it grow, and eventually it's going to be a big tree. You're going to say, wow, that is something really, really useful. Now it can shade me, and now I can sit under it and have some certainty with it. And that's really what this is all about, having certainty over what's happening in the future. I can't guarantee nothing bad is going to happen, but I can guarantee that using these proactive tendencies are going to help you get into a place throughout the course of the year where you're ready for that, and you're a lot more stable, at least emotionally and psychologically. So when those job loss, health loss, whatever it may be you're going through, you have that financial piece of the puzzle already set in stone, and that can speak mounds into recovery for job loss and health loss, and that is something that's going to be very beneficial for you going forward. In recap, first things we're going to do, track expenses for 30 days, changing nothing. That's going to help you see what we need, what's actually going on in reality. Next, go through those fixed monthly expenses, the rent, all those things that don't change month to month. That's going to give you a sense of how much money you have to pay those bills. The next one, monthly variable costs, those things that change, because you can start then making those small adjustments to change maybe how much you go out to eat or how much fuel you use. Those things you can start changing. And the last one is those periodic expenses. Those are the forecasting going forward throughout the course of the year. Take a calendar, go through every single month, write down the birthdays, write down the car registrations, everything that's happening throughout the year, just to see everything that's going on. Because when you can see that, knowledge is power, and when you can start using that knowledge for your benefit and being proactive, preparing for the year is going to be not difficult after you already have these proactive tendencies put into place, at which point you're going to have the year planned out, and that's really what the whole goal is, to have the whole year planned out financially. What are your guys' thoughts? Do you plan out things in the future? Do you live impulsively? I've lived both lives, so now that I'm on the end of acting proactive and being prepared for things, I've realized that in order for me to not feel financial stress and not have this seep into other parts of my life, doing these proactive tendencies has been really helpful for me personally, and I know it's going to help you as well. But let me guys, tell me what's going on. Does this make sense? Does it make sense to forecast expenses? Have you guys forecasted more than a year? I want to hear success, what works, what doesn't. Comment, subscribe, like. I think it's about right here. I want to hear from you guys what's going on. But be proactive. That's my big thing. See you guys.